across Teesside, County Durham and North Yorkshire. This is BBC Tees. Carol Tetlow is our guest today from North Yorkshire. Carol.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in. We dragged you in on the hottest day of the year. How have we managed that? You'd have been sunbathing in the back garden, pottering on in the garden, doing 100 things.
Well, I did cancel my tennis lesson to come here.
Oh,
it's true.
What? We're sorry. We'll make it worth your while, don't worry.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming in. Family doctor, before we go any further, my sciatica. Go on, let's have an on-air diagnosis now. Oh, it hurts.
It's a horrible, horrible thing. I've had it, so at least I can sympathise with you. But you've got to keep moving. None of this sitting and resting. Keep moving.
I sit down for the radio show. Mm-hmm. See, they've designed the equipment here where it's far too low for you, so you can't stand up, otherwise you're like bent over it. So.
Yeah. You know, I can remember the day when I used to go and see people with sciatica, and I used to tell them to unscrew the door from the hinges and lie on that door for 3 weeks and not move. And now it's changed completely, and you've got to keep moving. Got to keep moving.
I tell you all. We'll have more medical diagnosis with Carol through the course of this hour as well. General medical practitioner. I mean, that's the proper terminology, isn't it?
GP.
GP, but a family doctor to you and I. That's how we'll describe it. How long did you do that for?
I was in Harrogate, and I was there for just over 30 years.
Wow. Why medicine? What was it about medicine? And treating people who are ill. Not very well, and blood and all different other types of things.
That's all part of the fascination.
Oh, dear.
The fact that you just never know what's coming through the door next. You know, is it going to be an ingrowing toenail? Is it going to be somebody who bursts into tears? Is it going to be somebody who comes in with a big shopping trolley, opens it and says, "Hello, doctor, I've brought my 2 cats to see you."
Really?
Yep.
Has that happened to you before?
Yep.
No, you want the vet. That's just down the road.
No, they were just coming to see me because they knew I liked animals.
Wow. Surely, though, in this day and age, I mean, a doctor, yes, is a medical person, but it's more of like an agony aunt now, isn't it? Somebody that you can take all your troubles to and pour your soul out in front of.
I think we do have many roles. I think some people, see us almost like, the local priest. They come and confess things because they know it's not going to go any further. Yes.
What sort of thing? Is this patient confidentiality?
I think it better be patient confidentiality. But without a doubt, you hear things, and fortunately, you stay professional and you just nod wisely. But inside, you're thinking, really? Do you really want me to tell me all about this? But if it helps somebody, it's all to the good.
I suppose it is quite fascinating that you don't know what is going to come through the door next. I mean, okay. I mean, are there any examples you can give us where, we'll just think, really? Did that actually happen? I mean, you mentioned the cats.
Yeah, somebody came in to show me their engagement ring.
Yeah, but whereabouts was it stuck? That's the next question, isn't it?
Well, we could talk about objects that I have removed from various parts of the body, but I think we better not. And then, following something like that, you'll have the person who comes in, bursts into tears because a close member of the family's died. They don't know what to do. You oscillate from, the sublime to the ridiculous. You've just got to be on your mettle. And when you've helped the person that's in tears, you've got to steel yourself and be ready for the next one to come in, who might come in and vomit on the carpet.
I suppose it's you see all sorts of life. You see all life, in fact, in there. But I mean, let's not be flippant about it. I mean, it's an incredibly tough job. I mean, we all know and we all have an idea of the amount of training that a doctor goes through. But you're going to see some things that we will never want to see in our lifetime. Yeah. So it's a very tough job mentally, isn't it?
I think it's a vocation. It's not just a career. And yes, you do see all sorts of things, but I think there's this tremendous, certainly at the practice I worked at, there was this tremendous camaraderie between the partners so that you could offload on them and you could either have a good laugh about something or you could say, "I've just got to tell you about this, it was so awful, I can't believe it." And that's how you get through.
Can the humour then be quite dark humour, can it be,
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's just a defence mechanism, that you laugh about something because it's so horrible and somehow that helps you cope.
And the hours that you worked as a doctor, I mean, over the period of time and just the amount of red tape and rules and regulations, could you see it all changing?
Oh, it's changed completely. I mean, when I qualified, and you won't believe this because, of course, I look much younger, but when I qualified, you would work all day, work all night, work all the next day, and then you'd have your evening and your night off. Whereas now I think it's all a shift system in hospital. And certainly in general practice now, you're no longer on call from home for your patients. There's an out-of-hours service that deals with things. So things have changed a lot. But I think the job during the day's changed as well, in that patients have more demands, more expectations. It's hard work.
And meeting those demands.
Absolutely. And also nowadays, with the state of the NHS as it is, having to turn around and say no to some people and say, I'm really sorry, but there's no money for this. And that's a hard thing to do.
It is, isn't it? I mean, there's this whole argument that, take for instance, like the drugs for cancer. There are some amazing developments that have been made, and it's like, well, if it's there, let's use it. No, we can't use it because we can't afford to buy it.
That's right.
It's almost like, well, it's a waste of time having it then, isn't it?
Indeed, yes. And it builds up so much hope for people who might benefit. And it's the same, you read the front page of the papers, there's a new drug for arthritis, there's a new drug for this, there's a new drug for that, a cure for this, and it's not available. And it seems wrong, doesn't it, to build up somebody's hopes like that and then have them all come crashing down.
So what's the answer then when things like this happen? Because it must infuriate the life out of you as a former doctor and colleagues still in the business. Absolutely.
I think all you can do is, sit down and say, look, I'm sorry, it's not available. And, fortunately, they don't look on us as somebody to blame. They see it as a difficulty with the government. And, the problem with the NHS is that we've got now, one of the problems anyway, is that the fact that there are so many older people who are fitter and healthier and need more care and want to live active lives. And, where does the money go? It's an impossible question.
It is. And it's one of those that's just going to be argued over for the rest of time, well, as long as the NHS remains.
Yes, that's right.
Do you think the NHS will be around in the next 20, 30 years?
Oh, that's a good question. I would hate to lose it.
I think that's what everybody thinks, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think people will fight tooth and nail to preserve it.
Okay, let's come back in a minute, because obviously, yes, we want to talk about your career in medicine, but obviously then what you've turned around and done, and you've actually brought in some examples of your work as well in just a moment here at BBC Tees. 2:15, our After Two guest today is Carol Tetlow. Let's get some more from her in just a minute and play one of her music choices. 2:15, how are we doing on the roads? She's Robert Palmer. She makes my day at BBC Tees. This is John Foster. It's 2:20. Our guest on the show this afternoon is Carol. Carol Tetlow, former family doctor, now turned author, from North Yorkshire, around the Harrogate area.
I live near Bedale now.
Bedale, lovely part of the world.
Fabulous.
So are you local to North Yorkshire, or was it an area that you moved into because of the job? Because in every profession, people move around these days.
Yeah, I was born in Sheffield, so I'm a Yorkshire girl.
Steel City.
That's right. Yes, yes.
The posh part, obviously.
I don't remember. I was very young at the time. But yes, then moved around, obviously, went to university, moved around jobs after that, came back, worked in Bradford for a bit at the hospital, and then realised I wanted to go into general practice, and looked at Harrogate and was lucky enough to get a partnership there.
And you were there for the best part of many years, 30 years, and then retirement?
I decided the time was right to go.
Why?
Too many changes, not enough time, starting to get very stressed that I couldn't do the job the way I wanted to do it, and things like the loss of continuity of care, which is one of my particular soapboxes, which I think is so vital. And when you can see it disappearing in front of your eyes and there's nothing you can do about it, I just thought, I've done this for over 30 years, it's time maybe now to do something different.
So you could feel that your time in the business was coming to an end, and you wanted to try something new.
Yeah.
And certainly through the latter part of your career, about the last 8-9 years, you'd been making a conscious effort to put things down.
Absolutely, yes. I'd started writing seriously in about 2008. That was when I wrote my first novel, and then the others followed because they're all interlinked.
Okay. Did you know you were going to do this when it came to retiring? Did you know that you were going to give books a shot, or was it something that one day just came to you in a eureka moment?
Yeah, I think it was that. I was sitting at an educational meeting, probably not paying as much attention as I should.
Going like that with your pen, turning it from side to side.
And I suddenly had an idea, and it just grew from that. And I started writing, and then it just developed.
So give us a little bit of the premise of the book, okay? I mean, Out of Practice. It's the first of a series of 4.
Yep.
And then Faith, Hope and Clarity,
Yep.
which is the next one as well. Just give us an overview of those.
Okay, well, my first novel was Out of Practice, and in essence, this tells the story of one of the doctors at a medical centre. There are 4 doctors there, and it's sort of set against the backdrop of general practice, so you've got a lot going on about different patients, what's going on with them, so you've got some medical details for those who like those, and then the story is about this doctor who's a very competent doctor, a very conscientious doctor, and then things happen in her life. There's a sequence of events that start to cause turmoil, not just in her professional life, but also in her home life as well. And because they happen simultaneously, she finds it increasingly hard to cope.
Okay. Are these based on anyone in particular?
No, not intentionally. No, there have been comments that I'm quite similar to the main character in this book, but I wouldn't like to comment.
Okay, all right, but you've drawn on your experience and some of the stories that, and some of the situations you've been involved with have sort of like made their way in the book, just in a loose sort of way. Obviously, no names or anything like that. But
of course they have, because I've had a career of coming across interesting situations and interesting people and curious people and hilarious events, and it's nice to be able to recount those and in heavy disguise and turn them into a story.
Did the books write themselves quite quickly then? Given the fact that, once you have an idea and you go for it, actually, it sort of like tumbles out of you.
It started tumbling out of me, and then as the characters developed, a very curious thing happened, and the characters told me that what I had in store for them, in actual fact, wasn't the sort of thing that they would do anyway. And so they told me what I had to write. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but in actual fact, it was obvious that what I had in store for them would have been out of character for them. So it was a fabulous experience, actually, realising that I had to change it and change the end. And I personally think it turned out much better because of this. But I would.
So you had an idea and you were told off for it by people, well, unknown, sort of thing. And then it's all turned out okay. Then what's been the reaction to them?
Certainly, locally, very good indeed. I did a book signing at Waterstones, and we sold 84 copies in an hour.
Blimey.
Yep.
That's pretty good going.
Oh, it was an amazing morning. There was a queue going out of the door, and I think Waterstones were very pleased.
I bet they were. So you felt like a celebrity? Oh, did somebody come up to you and say, I've got this bad back?
They did, actually, because some patients, or some people who used to be patients, came along, and somebody brought me a sandwich in case I was hungry, and somebody brought me a box of chocolates, which was very nice. And 1 or 2 people did actually say, well, actually, while I'm here, I'm on these tablets, should I be getting these side effects? Things like that.
So they wanted a quick diagnosis and consultation while you were signing the book.
That's right.
It must be great when you turn up. I mean, I know people and various different people down the years, and authors and famous people who've gone to do book launches and things like that, or sign copies of things, and the table's been set up and there's like one man and his dog there, or two people have turned up, and it's like, you want people to buy the book, but it must be heartening when there's a big queue.
Oh, it was amazing.
Is that because you're a pillar of the community?
I don't know if I'd call myself a pillar of the community, but I did have a very faithful following of patients, and I'm sure that's helped because, they were lovely people. They cared about me as a person as well as a doctor. So, yeah, it was just great. And, hopefully I can do the same with Faith, Hope and Clarity.
So how long did it take to write the first one then out of practice?
About a year.
So you went over it and over it and over it, and then obviously you were told to change the ending by these characters and everything. Yeah. So it's a refining process.
Definitely. And then, of course, inevitably you'll get... I was working at the time, so there were perhaps several weeks when I didn't put one word down because other things had to be done, or else I couldn't think what to write next, and then you'd get back into it. So you sort of dip in and out of it. But I can be a bit stricter about writing now, because I've got the time.
What is it about medical things and medicine? I mean, we had a chat about this off the air. When you look on the TV, Holby, Casualty, there's doctors, there's ever so many other medically based either dramas, comedies. We have One Born Every Minute, which is on the TV. What is it? The A&E one, I've forgotten the actual title of it. Accident and Emergency. Why are we fascinated by it?
I think people are very much more interested in their own health these days, and they like to be flies on walls and see what goes on. I think they like it. It's sort of entertaining, but there's intrigue and there's that bit of excitement as well, and it's all a bit mysterious because it's a world they don't know an awful lot about. And I think my thoughts was, if you then throw in some intriguing characters and a few plot lines with twists that you're not expecting, I think there's a market there for books like that.
OK, let's come back in a minute. It's 2:30 already with our guest this afternoon at BBC Tees, Carol Tetlow. More from her in just a moment, and a couple of her favourite bits of music. ELO next. What a perfect day for it as well.
Across Teesside.
Isn't it? 22 minutes to 3. Why did you pick that? Hour after 2 guest, Carol Tetlow.
Because the sky is blue and the sun's shining, and when you're asked to choose 5 songs with 5 minutes' notice, it's quite difficult.
As we've always said, that is our icebreaker at the radio station. You will not be asked a more difficult question than give us 5 bits of music that you enjoy. And you just see the panic that goes onto people's faces. They pull their phone up and go to their iTunes and start flicking through and finding that. It's a good choice. You've got another good choice coming up. They're all good choices. We'll see if we can get through them in just a moment. Family doctor for 30 years, now turned author. A lot of what you've seen, heard, done has been brought into the books, obviously disguised. Names have been changed, etc., etc., etc. They say there's one good book in everybody. And the power of the internet is fantastic now, as we're going to find out with your story. Yep. But as we've also heard from various authors who've been on, it's an incredibly competitive thing to do. It might not sound it. Write a book, get it published. No, I mean, there is that much happening in the literary world. It's actually quite scary, and you found this, haven't you?
Yeah, I did. I had no idea. I thought writing the book was the hard part. And then the general consensus was, get yourself a literary agent. That's the step towards getting a publisher. So I started writing off, and got fairly used to the self-addressed envelopes coming back through the post. I think the postman got used to them too, saying thanks but no thanks.
Well, keep your details on file. Good luck for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of them you didn't get a letter, you just got a sort of automated slip. Somebody wrote back on the letter I'd sent them and just scribbled something in the corner. Sometimes you got very positive and nice comments saying, yeah, keep trying, and this sort of thing. And then I finally did get a literary agent, and I thought, that's it, this is great, we're on our way. And sadly, that literary agent really didn't turn out to be very reliable. He disappeared, and there was no contact with him. I didn't know what he was doing. So I wrote to him and terminated our contract because I felt, well, he's not working for me. I then got another literary agent who was very proactive, but I think he had a lot of other things going on in his life. He had to have a major operation. And then he, I think, in effect, retired. And so I was left again with nowhere to go. So what I did was I thought, well, in this day and age, you've got to look elsewhere, and there must be other ways of doing this. What I didn't want to do was self-publish and pay to have my books published, because I'm proud of what I've written, and I want them to be, valued by other people as well. So I found a website where you can put your works on it, and it's a website for authors and publishers alike. So publishers around the world can have a look at your work, so can literary agents. And I thought to myself, well, this is probably the longest shot in the world, but you've got to try things. So I put my 4 books on there, was desperately keen on checking how many people had had a look at my works for about the first month, and then I was thinking, okay, well, perhaps I've got better things to do with my time than just keep checking this website, and in effect forgot all about it. And then weirdly, the day that my second literary agent sent me an email saying, I'm sorry, Carol, but I'm not doing this anymore, I had an email from a French-Canadian publisher called Guy Boulian of Éditions Dédicaces.
That's very good. Very good.
Thank you. I think he's listening. So if he is, hello, Guy, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. Offering to publish my first book, showing interest in the series of the 4 books, and the rest, as they say, is history. So, miracles do happen. He has turned out to be the most attentive and fabulous publisher you could ask for.
He better be listening if you're saying all these nice things about him.
And I'm not just saying them, it's true. If I have a question, I email him, I get a reply straight away. He works tirelessly, and I have nothing but praise and enormous thanks for him for what he's done for me.
It's quite scary, isn't it? I mean, it's fantastic, the technology, obviously, but it's quite scary in a way that, a former doctor writes a book in rural North Yorkshire, and somebody on the other side of the world picks it up and says, I'll publish it for you.
Oh, it is.
And there it is.
But it's an adventure.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's quite
absolutely.
Scary. It's quite scary when it happens like this. So what's it like to see your first book then arrive in the post? Do you get a big box of them and there's like 40 in a box, or do you just get the first one and you think, yes?
Firstly, I got one, but I do now have a big box full of them, I have to say.
You're wanting to shift?
Absolutely. But I can also tell you where they're available to buy. It was a bit surreal, really, because it had been so long coming. So, from 2008 to 2014, the first one was published last June. And, various photos were taken of me looking a bit stunned, holding this book. But it's wonderful. It really is. And there's almost a bit of sort of, I can't believe it still.
That you are now a published author. Fantastic. First one's out, second one out soon. What about the third and the fourth? What can you tell us about them? I mean,
Sure.
are they like... yes, the medical books, the characters that you come across. There are some good stories in there. There are some funny stories in there. There are some heart-wrenching stories.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, you'll be carried away on a wave of emotion.
You've done this before, I can tell. So, the third and the fourth.
Right, okay, so just a quick word about the second one, which came out in February. That's Faith, Hope and Clarity. There are 4 novels. I'm working on the 5th, but in each one, the main story is about one of the doctors. Because really, funnily enough, doctors are fallible just like the rest of us. We're human beings. We get ill. We have crises. We have personal problems. Things go wrong. I remember once I was taking a cervical smear from somebody.
Right.
Sort of thing that I used to do a lot being a female doctor. And I was just trying to put her at ease, because it's not a procedure that women like to have done, as I'm sure many women will agree.
There are ladies all over the place going...
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yes. And so I was talking to her, and I just said, I really hate having this done too. And in all honesty, she looked at me and she said, but you're a doctor. You don't have to have things like this done, do you?
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so, through my books, I want to show that, doctors have problems too.
So who do you go and see then when you have a problem? I suppose that's another question that's been
Local
asked.
GP.
The local GP.
Yeah.
I thought as much. 3:15. Let's come back in a minute at BBC Tees. It's Choice of our After Two guest today, Carol Tetlow, who's now a published author, as we've been finding out. Her books are out. She lives in the beautiful Yorkshire Dales. 11 donkeys, 1 pony, 2 dogs, 2 cats. But just 1 husband.
I'm afraid that's changed a little bit.
Oh,
to
no.
10 donkeys.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 2 ponies,
Right.
4 dogs,
4 dogs.
2 cats,
Right.
and just 1 husband.
And the husband, that was the song for him.
That was the song for him.
Can we ask why? Can we pry?
Yeah, of course you can, because we both love it, and we played it at our wedding.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Very
How
nice.
nice is that?
So, my sort of like bedside manner this afternoon, is this a pass? Have I been quite good with this? Because, I mean, doctors are the authority on dealing with people.
Absolutely. I would thoroughly commend your bedside manner, and I think that, the government are always looking for late starters in medical schools.
Not
So
this late. Come on.
On the contrary, we need more doctors and we need more GPs. So, if you're looking for just a slight change in career.
Yeah, but I'm squeamish. I hate the sight of blood. Needles, I will pass out at the sight of a needle. That might be a bit of a hindrance to me in this career.
Yes.
Having said that, I've got the name though, haven't I? Foster. Dr. Foster. You know
You
the
see,
thing.
it trips off the tongue. doesn't
There
it?
you go, you see. There you go. So, I take it your spare time is busy looking after everything that you do in terms of 10 donkeys,
2 ponies.
2 ponies, 4 dogs, 2 cats, and a husband.
Yes.
Which is the hardest?
Oh, the husband.
I knew it! But I suppose your time is taken up doing all of this sort of stuff. I mean, do you miss the job? Because, I mean, you are now officially retired.
I am. Yes. Do I miss the job? I miss certain aspects of the job. I miss a lot of the colleagues that I worked with. I miss a lot of the patients, and I miss that patient contact of talking to people, the mystery of diagnosis, finding out what's wrong, helping people, trying to put it right. But I don't miss the stress.
Yeah, how do you doctors do it? Somebody comes in and says, I've got, this, that, and the other's wrong with me, and then you just know straight away. Or is it a case that sometimes you've had to go and get the book out and... Right.
Of course, yeah, and I think the most important thing is that people don't mind if you don't know, if you're honest with them. If you say, I really don't know what this is, but I'll do my best to find out, then they're happy with that because you've listened and you're going to sort their problem out. It's it's the sort of bluffing or passing them on to somebody else, and there's no job satisfaction in that anyway.
While the song was on and while the travel was going out on the air, we were having a quick chat, and I asked you the question, what is the high, what is the low in this job, and you rattled through a couple of things that have happened to you in your career. I mean, would you share a couple of those, or if not all of those, just like some of the things where you thought, this is a privilege doing this job, oh my goodness me, this is dreadful doing this job. This job doesn't get any more surreal than what I'm having to deal with at this moment.
Yeah. Which would you like first?
Let's start with the surreal. Let's get that one out of the way, and we'll change one of the words in it just in case anybody is offended. But it's a toy of an adult nature, shall we say?
Yeah. My husband will probably be going pale now. I don't know if he knows this story.
The boss is going pale in the office. That's why. Go on.
So one of the most surreal moments that I can think of is when I had to take a male patient who was on his stag night into the operating theatre to remove a rather large object from, I think, what is colloquially known as his back passage, which had been put there as a joke by his so-called friends. I think I'd rather be chained to a lamppost, personally.
Did he see the funny side of that?
I think he was just so immeasurably embarrassed that he just couldn't wait to get out of hospital.
And be honest, did you have a laugh? Did you snigger, or were you like absolutely Oh, my goodness me, I'm shocked to the core.
Oh, no, we all laughed. I've never seen so many people in an operating theatre.
Coming in for a look.
Yeah.
And running out again.
Yeah.
Dear me. Privilege.
Privilege, I think the two things instantly come to me, and one is being able to deliver somebody's baby.
Wow.
And
What's that like?
I was just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I'd done quite a lot of maternity work before I went into general practice. And when I started in general practice, we were still doing deliveries as GPs. And it's a very special moment to share with a couple. You know, you've followed them all the way through the pregnancy. You crawl out of bed and appear with your hair standing up on end and your pyjamas on in the middle of the night to deliver the baby. And then you go and visit them when they go home, and it's just incredible.
But the pressure of delivering a new life, a baby being born, I mean, that's how we describe it, but it is actually a new life coming into the world, and you're the person in charge at that particular point.
Yes, it is scary, and yes, things can go wrong, but what I never did any home deliveries, which I think would be really scary because there's no help on hand if something goes wrong, at least not immediately. So it was always done in a hospital environment where, although it was designated a room for GP deliveries, you knew that outside in the corridor there was a consultant and lots of equipment if you needed it. Yeah.
And the despair in the job.
The despair, I think, is when you just feel that you can't help somebody. Perhaps somebody is very ill. Perhaps somebody just has huge social problems, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Because you do. The whole nature of the job is that you want to help people, and it hurts when you can't.
How do you wrestle with that then when you go home on a night? Or is it a case that you just have to park it to one side and just carry on with your life?
That's what you're supposed to do.
But
it's really hard. You go home and you think about it, and you think, well, I wonder if we could do this, I wonder if we could do that, and then you discuss it with your colleagues, and as I said earlier, it's very hard to say to somebody, there is nothing I can do to help you.
On the whole, though, do the pluses far outweigh, if you want to call them, the minuses?
Of course.
The interesting, the privilege outweigh the despair.
Yes, and I think that's the beauty of general practice is that you get the goods, you get the highs, you get the lows, of course, but they balance each other out, so that you can be feeling desperately sorry if you have a run of not bad patients, but patients with bad problems, and then something funny will happen, and it all seems to level itself out. Like
the lady who came in and demanded to be seen right now, there and then, and when she went into the consulting room, she just turned around to you and said she'd had an intimate moment with her boss, and then just got up and walked out again.
That's the one.
That's the one. I thought as much. The books, they're out now. Where can we get them from?
You can get them from Amazon.co.uk.
Okay.
Or Biblio, or Lulu, or Barnes and Noble. Well, that's the idea.
Okay. So first two books are out. Next two are coming out very soon. It's been good to meet you in Bedale. Would you like to see them on the TV?
I would love to see them on the TV.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah, I think they would lend themselves to TV perfectly.
Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if we see them on our TV screens very soon. Final song is this, Doris Day, Move Over Darling. Carol?